Okay, so now we're going to look at a handful of questions, considering the different cases that you will find in A2 in the chapter polynomials. So let's just complete them. Here we go. First question: the polynomial this, where a and b are constants, is divisible by this equation. Find the values of a and b. Okay, so we know if okay, that means this equation will be completely factorized by this one. The remainder will be zero. So can I factorize this? Let me check that out. Can I factorize this into two factors? So I can find the values of x. So 1 minus 1 plus 1. Okay, that gives me non-real values, so I cannot. Okay. So, but I can do one more thing. I can say that x4 plus 2x cube plus ax plus b is exactly equal to x square plus x square minus x minus x plus 1. That's 1. And the other will be bx. Okay, now a and b are already used in your equation. We know that a power of 4 equation can be formed by multiplying two quadratic equations, so one of which we already have, the other I do not know of, so I'm gonna take it into your general form, which is dx square plus ex plus q. Why not? Okay, so now keep in mind that the constant term that will be formed will be equal to b, the coefficient of x that will be formed will be equal to a, and that would be everything we need. So let's open this up, because now we're gonna just compare the coefficients. So multiply that up, you get dx to the power 4. Now d is the coefficient of x to the power 4, so that is equal to 1, just to keep in mind. Moving on, ex cube plus qx square, second term minus dx cube minus ex square minus qx, and lastly we have plus dx square plus ex plus q. Okay, so that's the completely opened up simplified version. Now compare the coefficients. But okay, let's do it smartly. Let's do it intellectually. How would you know that you need to find a and b directly? Okay, so we know b is a constant term, right? So what are the values here that are constants? So q itself is a constant. All the rest of them have a variable next to them, right? So we're just going to take q. So we already know q is equal to b. That's one thing. Another thing to notice here is that a is the coefficient of x. Okay, so a must be equal to everything that is a coefficient of x. So q again, e again. By the way, do not forget this minus sign as well with q. Anything else with the coefficient of x? No. So we have negative q plus e. That will be equal to a. Another thing. Now we need to find q and e. The rest of them are unknown values. So let's use them. We already know that d is equal to 1. Why? Because x to the power 4 has the coefficient d and x to the power 4 has the coefficient 1. So we already know d is equal to 1. Got it. What else? We know e minus d is equal to 2. Why? Because it is the coefficient of x cubed, and these two must simplify to 2. So e minus d equals to 2. That's another equation formed. Can we do one more? We can do for x squared as well. Now there is no x squared term in your power 4 equation, right? That would mean that somewhere around here I can say 0 to the power x squared. That's why it doesn't exist, because its coefficient was 0, right? So let's use that as well. X square, for x square we have q minus e plus d. Okay, so q minus e plus d equals to 0. Okay, so now we know d equals to 1, so e minus 1 equals to 2. E is now equal to, let's just add a distinction there, e, okay, that's equal to 3. So I know e equals to 3, and here a equals to minus q plus 3. That's something we can do. Now here you know q minus e equals to 3, so there we go, d is equal to 1, 0. Q is now equal to minus 3 plus 1 is minus 2, and I go take it on the other side is 2. So q equals to 2, and I can put it here, a equals to minus 2 plus 3, a equals to 3 minus 2 is just 1. So we know a is equal to 1 directly. And can we find q? We did find q. Okay, so q equals to b, and q itself is 2, so b equals to 2. There we go, we've directly found the answers. It is a tedious process, just multiply. You are supposed to think how this power of 4 equation is formed, how this power of 4 polynomial is formed, How? By multiplying two quadratics. You already have one. Now, an easier method would have been that this could have been factorized into two linear factors, but we do not have those because this is a non-real value. It gives us non-real values of x. It gives us in the form of iota, imaginary numbers, right? So what are you going to do? We're going to compare coefficients. Take two quadratic equations that must multiply to form this equation. So if you simplify that, you get the simplified in terms of E, Q's and D's and A's and whatnot. Then just compare the coefficients, make your equations, substitute values here and there, and you get the answer, right? Moving on to question number 2. All right. The polynomial this, where a and b are constant, is denoted by क्या होगा English को? चलो p और x, p of x है ये, ठीक है. It is given that 2x plus 1 is a factor, so x equals to minus 1 over 2 would give you the remainder 0. Got it? And when p of x is divided by x plus 2, okay, so when x equals to minus 2, the remainder is minus 24. Okay, so this is how you're going to note down your information, the data that has been given to you. Now find the values of a and b. Okay, so now we can use these two different values of data to substitute into our equation and find two different values, and form two different equations, right? So we need to find two variables. By the way, this is a rule in maths that if you need to find one variable, you make one equation. If you need to find two variables, you make two equations. So now we have two sets of data that will allow us to make two equations. Let's just do that. So 6 minus half q plus, okay, I'm just going to do that one directly, minus b over 2 minus 2. Let's simplify that. That's going to be what? 6 into minus 1 over 8, right? 8 4s are 3s are. So minus 2 4s are 2 3s are. Minus 3 over 4, that is, plus a over 4 minus b over 2 minus 2. The remainder that must give us a 0. Okay. By the way, this is your remainder theorem, right? That whenever there is a factor, you can equate it to 0. So 2x minus 1 equals to 0. And for this value of x, if this is a factor, for this value of x put into the equation, the answer must be equal to 0. That is your remainder, right? Anyways, moving on. So now if I substitute x equals to minus 2 into the equation, so 6 minus 2 cubed plus 4a minus 2b minus 2. Now this must simplify to 24, minus 24. So minus 2 cube is minus 8, 6 into 8 is, I have no idea, my brain is slowing down, give me a second. 2b minus 2 equals to minus 20 minus, हाँ क्या हो गया, minus 24. There we go. So 6 into minus 8, there we go. 6 8s are 48. There we go. Sometimes I'm just really slow for no reason at all. 2b minus 2 equals to minus 24. Okay, so let's just simplify this a little. Minus 24 plus 2a minus b minus 1 equals to minus 12. What did I do? I just divided by 2 to make my life a little easier. So minus 24 minus 1 minus 25 minus 12 plus 25 gives us what? Gives us minus 12 plus 25 is what? 13. There we go. 13. Then what is left here? 2a minus b is left here. All of that was taken there. So now, okay, can I simplify this one as well? So we have minus 3 over 4 minus 2 and a over 4 minus b over 2 can just chill over here. 4 2s are 8, minus 3 minus 8 is minus 11, 11 over 4 it is. Okay, so by the way, this was just basic algebra. I can put it in the calculator for you. Minus 2 gives us minus 11 over 4. I just took it to the other side to make it positive 11 over 4, right? So let's make b the subject here. 2a minus 13 equals to b. So subject, b, let's substitute that, a over 4 minus, okay, so minus 2a plus 13 divided by 2 equals to 11 over 4. Make the denominators the same, so okay, a minus 4a plus times, by the way, I'm just times 2ing both sides like this, so the denominator becomes same and I can equate it. So 4a plus 13 times 2 is 26 equals to 11 over 4. This whole was 4 as well. These can to cancel out. So a minus, okay, let's just save some space here. And a minus 4 is minus 3a plus 26 equals to 11. So a equals to 11 minus 26 divided by minus 3. And that gives us, let me calculate it, 11 minus 26 divided by minus 3. So we get 5. A is equal to 5, simple as that. Substitute it here, 2 into 5 minus 13 equals to B. 2 5s are 10 minus 13 equals to B. B is equals to minus 3. There we go. Huh. Simple question, just the use of simultaneous equation and deducing what this data means to us, right? Moving on. Okay, question number 3 says the polynomial, this cubic polynomial here, it is given that x minus 2 is a factor. What does that mean? X minus 2 equal to 0, x equals to 2. If I substitute this into the equation, the remainder must be equal to 0. Okay, so find the value of a. Easy does it. Let's do it really quick. 2 into 2 cube plus 4a minus, okay, wait, x equals to positive 2. Okay, so minus 4, that gives us actually, just simplify this first. 2 8s are 16 plus 4a minus 4. 16 minus 4 is 12 plus 4a equals to 0. Why? Because this is the remainder and this must simplify to 0. So minus 12 divided by 4 equals to a. 4 1s are 4 3s are. So minus 3 is your answer. A equals to minus 3. Done. Okay, when a has this value, okay, that means this has to be written as 2x cube plus, okay, not plus, my bad, minus 3. Okay, so a simplifies to minus 3x square minus 4. This is your polynomial now. For this value of a, factorize it. Okay. So now we're going to do part 2, in which we just need to factorize our equation. So that's going to be 2x cube minus 3x square minus 4. Okay, so now we know of multiple methods. I'm going to just use comparison. So now this is this cubic polynomial. How would it be formed? It would be formed when I multiply a linear factor and a quadratic equation. Now that linear factor has already been given to me, is x minus 2. If I multiply a linear factor and a quadratic equation, now I do not know what this equation would be, so I'm just going to use a general form, ax square plus bx plus c. Now if these two multiply, this cubic polynomial must be formed. So let's simplify on this side, right side. So what? Ax cube plus bx square plus cx, there we go. Then minus 2ax square, we have minus 2bx, we have minus 2c. Got that? Now what did we need to find? We need to find these values. We need to find a, we need to find b, we need to find c. Why? So we can have the quadratic equation, and then it can be broken down into two more factors, right? And that will allow us to completely factorize this cubic. So let's find ABC. Okay, so now this a is what? It is the coefficient of x to the power cube, so that is 2 here, and there is no other x cube, so it's just going to be a equals to 2. That's that. Moving on. Now let's talk about the coefficients of x square. These are the two coefficients of x square, right? So b minus 2a equals to, in the cubic equation, this must be equal to minus 3. So minus 3. Why? Because the quotient of x square in the cubic that will be formed is minus 3. And in our general form, that is equals to b minus 2a, because those are the coefficients of all the x square terms, right? So just leave it at that. Now we have minus 4. Minus 4 is a constant term. Constant term here is minus 2c. So minus 2c equals to minus 4. So let's find c. C is just equal to 2. There we go. We have a as well. So b minus 2 into 2 equals to minus 3. Minus 4 plus 4, b equals to minus 3 plus 4. And b equals to minus 3 plus 4, 4 minus 3 is 1. So b is equals to 1 as well. Now we have the quadratic equation. So let's just simplify that. X minus 2, that's our linear factor. The quadratic equation is ax square, a equals to 2. So 2x square, b is 1. So just x and c is 2, so plus 2. Now just use middle term breaking or your quadratic formula or whatnot to simplify this. I'm going to do it directly just to save some time. You have to show the working, by the way, if you're using middle term breaking or if you're using your quadratic formula. Okay, wait. 2 plus. Okay, so I'm getting non-real values, which is weird since this is not something. Okay, let's factorize p of x completely. They did not ask us to give us the values of x. So this is enough. If I factorize this further, this is giving me non-real values, right? So this is just enough for a factorization, right? This is your answer. Now, what does part 3 state? Part 3 states solve the inequality this, justifying your answer. Okay, so what do we need to do? Let's do part 3 over here. P of x, let's take the simplified factorized version of it. 2x squared plus x plus 2 is greater than 0. Okay, so how do we simplify cubic polynomials? We have three methods. Now, but we first, of course, need the values of x. Now, we already know this simplifies to non-real values. So there is just one root. Okay, there is only one root. That is x is greater than 2. Now let's observe this inequality, right? So let's sketch a cubic curve. Now this is a positive cubic curve, right? Because a here, ax cube over here is the maximum power coefficient is x cube coefficient है 2. 2 is positive. So a equals to positive. This a I'm referring to the coefficient of x cube, right? So since this is a positive cubic, the curve will go something like this. Maximum first and minimum after, right? Okay, here we go. Let's just do that, right? Now, since we know it gives us only one positive root, so let's just make the x-axis over there. And this allows us to have only one root, that is of x equals to 2. Now we know, and that's just going to keep going up, blah, 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 all the way there. Now this must remain greater than 0. So if I move towards right, as in x is greater than 2, it gives me positive values. But if I had moved to the left, as in x is less than 2, that would have given me negative values that are below the x-axis. So my inequality is just going to be x is greater than 2. And that, my friends, is the answer. Okay, so moving on to more questions. We have done 3. The next one is right here. Okay. Let's change to a different color now. So the polynomial this is a cubic polynomial with k constants a and b denoted by p of x. So this is just p of x. It is given that x plus 1, x plus 2 are factors. What does that mean? That means x equals to minus 1 and x equals to minus 2. Both, if substituted into your equation, will give you r equals to 0. Okay, so find the values of a and b. Simple. You have two sets of datas, so that can be substituted into your equation, which is x equals to minus 1. The remainder will be 0. If this is substituted into the equation, your answer must be 0. And x equals to minus 2, that also gives us 0. Okay. So let's just do the working. Simple as that. 4 into minus 1 cubed plus a minus b minus 2. Simplify that, you get minus 4 plus. Okay, actually I can do it a little. I'm in the full mood of saving time. So minus 4 minus 2 is minus 6 plus a minus b. This must be equal to 0. Okay, next we have minus 2 to be substituted. So there we go. That's going to be what? 4a. And this is going to be minus 2b and minus 2. So, okay, that is a terrible way to write cube. Cube, there we go. Okay, so 4a minus 8, 4 into minus 8 minus 32. Minus 32 minus 2 is minus 34 plus 4a minus 2b. This must also be equal to 0. Now let's just do. Can you hear that crow? देखो यार मतलब मैं खिड़की है ना मेरे रूम में तो खाना वाना डाला होता है नेक आदमी हूँ मैं थोड़ा सा 4a minus 2b equals to 34. Okay, so just simplify that. 2a minus b equals to what? 17. Yep, 17. There we go. So let's make b the subject. 2a minus 17 equals to b. Okay, minus 6 plus a minus 2a plus 17 equals to 0. By the way, I multiplied the b. I multiplied the negative sign with all these, so it fits into the equation. That gives us what? A minus 2 is minus a. Minus 6 plus 17 is minus 11. Okay, plus 11, my bad, equals 0. And a is equals to minus 11. Okay, so we got a. Did I do that right? Minus 6 plus 17. 17 minus 6 is what? 11 plus 11. And a minus 2 is minus a, and that goes there. Minus, okay, see, there was a mistake almost made a mistake. Minus minus cancels out. A equals to 11. Please always recheck your answers. So 2 into 11 is 22 minus 17 equals to B, and B is equals to 5. 5. 5 it is. Now we have found the values of A and B by simply substituting values as per the given data. When A and B have these values, okay. So now let's do part A. I do have space, and yeah, I do have a lot of space. Okay. So part 2 states for these values of A and B, 4x cubed plus 11x squared plus 5x, sorry, 5x minus 2, and that's that. This is your p of x. For these values, find the remainder when p of x is divided by this. Okay, so when it is divided by, p of x is divided by divided by what? Divided by x squared plus 1. Now see, they've played us hard here. If I could just make this bracket equal to 0, this would give me a non-real value, right? This is an imaginary number, it doesn't exist. So I cannot just substitute this into the equation and get the remainder directly. So now I'll have to occupy a method called long division. Not that difficult of a method, I just would require some space. अच्छा भाई, तो सवाल को देख लेते हैं। लॉन्ग डिवीजन वाला पार्ट कैसा है इसका। तो भाई देखो, थॉट प्रोसेस बहुत सिंपल होता है, नॉर्मल डिवीजन की तरह होता है, ठीक है। थॉट प्रोसेस होता है कि हम इसको, इस डिवाइजर को किससे मल्टीप्लाई करें कि 4x³ टर्म बने, ठीक है। पहले आपका थॉट प्रोसेस समझ लो, मेथड खुद ही सेंस बन जाती है, ठीक है। तो व्हाट डू वी मल्टीप्लाई x² + 1 टू गेट 4x³? ओके, सो इफ आई मल्टीप्लाई इट विद 4x, 4x मल्टीप्लाइंग विद दिस वुड गिव यू व्हाट, 4x³ तो बन जाएगा, but it will give you another term, an extra term as well, which will be 4x³ plus 4x. So plus 4x. ये बन गई. Now division में क्या करते थे? Firstly we would find the multiple. Like let's do one here as well. So 26 divided by 5, right? So how would it go? We would say, okay, so 5 into 5 gives us 25, right? And then we would subtract. So 2 and 2 cancel out, and this would give you 1 as your remainder. So what did we think about? We thought about what would multiply to give you the closest value, right? So we did the same. We thought of something that would multiply to give us the closest value, and then we're going to subtract it, right? So subtract this whole thing. Now use your knowledge of maths. So minus minus, minus plus minus, and this minus plus also becomes minus. So now simplify that. This cancels out completely. Now can I simplify 11x squared minus 4x? I cannot. So simply write it as it is, 11x squared minus 4x. Okay. Now bring down the next term like we would do. For example, if this was 266, right? So I would bring down the next term and make this 16. So similarly, bring down 5x plus 5x नीचे आ गया. Now only the next term is brought down. Forget about 2, leave it upstairs. Now think about this. Now again, think about the first term, 11x squared. How can I, what do I multiply 2x squared plus 1 to get 11x squared? तो 11 से मल्टीप्लाई कर देते हैं, प्लस 11. इक्वेशन बनानी है तो प्लस प्लस करके होता है, ठीक है। तो पॉजिटिव 11, अगर नेगेटिव 11 होता ना तो दिस वुड हैव बीन अ नेगेटिव. So you're forming an equation, make sure you're adding the sign above as well. 11 plus 11 से हमें मल्टीप्लाई करना है. So 11 into x2, x square becomes 11x square, and the extra term will be 11 into 1 is plus 11, plus 11, and we are going to be subtracting these two together, right? So the sign changing will be plus minus minus and plus minus minus. Okay, so do the simplification on your own. This get cancels out completely. Can these two be simplified? No, they cannot. But this can be. Minus 4x plus 5x can be written as x, and this cannot be simplified, so x minus 11. Huh. So can I change something? Okay, no, this is good enough, I think. Right? X minus 11. So now bring down the next value. Next value is minus 2. So, okay. Now hear me out. Now before I proceed with this, I need to observe something. See, look at this example over here. To get 16, that's going to be 5 3 is 15. 15 x that 1. Now there are no further values, right, to bring down. And this number over here is 1. The remainder is 1, and the divisor is 5. Is 5 less than 1? No, it is greater than 1, right? 1 is less than 5. That means the remainder has become greater than the divisor. So that's when I stop. I can say this is the remainder and this is the quotient. And I have nothing else to bring down. So this becomes the remainder, this becomes the quotient. How did I know? Because the remainder became less than the divisor. Just like that, when you're talking about dividing equations, you think about the power or the degree of your equation. For example, that means the degree means the power of the maximum power. So the maximum power in your remainder is 1, x to the power 1, right? And the maximum power in your divisor is x to the power 2. So has the degree of your remainder become less than the degree of the divisor? Yes, because see, the maximum power is 2, here it is 1. So the degree of the remainder has become less than the degree of the divisor. So that is when you're going to stop. You're going to do no further calculation and simplify this to become x minus 11 minus 2 is minus 13. So x minus 13 becomes your remainder, and the remaining term here 4x plus 11, 4x plus 11 becomes your quotient. Q of x लिखते हैं, and that is your answer. Quotient और remainder ढूंढना था, तो ये हमने निकाल के दिखा दिया. ठीक है, so let's just move on. Okay, so the polynomial, this is denoted by p of x, so this whole thing is equals to p of x. Given that x square minus x plus 3 is a factor, so if I can simplify this further into two brackets and equate them to 0, the remainder must be equal to 0. Or if I just use long division to divide this polynomial with this divisor, it will give me the remainder 0. ठीक है, समझ आता है. Find the value of a and factorize p of x completely. This is the same question. Oh, is this the same question actually? Didn't we do this? We did this. Yeah, right here. Okay, but it is asked a little differently this time. Do we want to do it again? Okay, fine, I'll do it again. It's pretty pointless to do it again, but here we go. Part A, part 1. X4 plus 5x plus a is exactly equal to x square minus x plus 3 multiplied by another quadratic equation. Use the different variables, so dx square plus ex plus q is what I'm using. By the way, can this equation be simplified further? Let me just check that out. 1 minus 1 and minus and plus 3. Okay, that gives us imaginary values. See, this is the play of the examiner. I cannot simplify this further. Anyways, so we're gonna what? We're gonna use comparison method again. Okay, let's compare. So multiply these, dx to the power 4 plus ex cube plus qx square and minus dx cube minus ex square minus qx. Then we have plus 3dx squared plus 3ex and plus 3q. So what do we need? We need to find a. A is a constant term, so we already know that a is exactly equal to a constant term 3q. So a equals to 3q. Got it. Now let's compare the different coefficients. So now x to the power 4 has the coefficient d. Nothing else simply would affect this value. So I can compare it directly to the coefficient in my actual equation, which is x to the power 4 is the coefficient is 1. So I already know d is equal to 1. Directly we have that value. Okay, what else? Let's compare the coefficients of x cube. Okay, so the x to the x cubes, the coefficients we have are e minus d. E minus d. Now these must simplify to the coefficient in my actual equation. Since there is no coefficient, that means there was a value here with the coefficient 0 and the variable x cube. Since the coefficient is 0, we do not write it. It is eliminated, right? It doesn't exist. So I can say e minus d equals to 0. This is me just gathering the information, by the way. Now let's look at the powers of x squared. By the way, to save some time, I have 5x over here. So the quotient of x is q plus 3e minus q plus 3e. So minus q plus 3e are the quotient of x's that must simplify to 5 in my actual equation, right? The quotient of x, that is 5. Okay, can I just finish it here? E minus d equals to 0, e is 1, or d is 1, so e equals to minus 1 plus, okay, e is also 1, there we go. E is also 1, here minus q plus 3 into 1 equals to 5, 3 ones are 3, minus 5 equals to q, minus 2 equals to q. Q has been found, a equals to 3 into minus 2, a equals to minus 6, there we go. And that, my friends, is your answer. See, you can just mostly do comparing coefficients. That's how I was taught as well. Part 2. Here we go. Part 2. Part 2 states, hence, okay, so we need to use the previous answers to state the number of real roots of the equation p of x equals to 0. Okay. So first, let's just get your equation, which is x4 plus 5x plus a. What is a? A is minus 6. So minus 6 equal to 0. This was your p of x. Equate that to 0. Now we need to suggest how many number of real roots we have. Okay. So in the previous answer, in the previous part, we figured out that if we multiply x square minus x plus 3 and we multiply, now d is equal to 1, so x square, e is equal to 1 as well, so plus x, and q is equal to minus 2, so minus 2. If we multiply these two equations, what do we get? We get our power 4 polynomial, right? So that means if I factorize these two further, that's going to allow me to discover how many roots how many times this polynomial will intersect the x-axis, or how many times it gives us roots, right? Roots as in answers. So let's factorize these two. And I'm going to just save some time. You can use the quadratic formula or middle term breaking as it may suit you. So 1 minus 1 plus 3. Okay, so if I simplify this set of equation, it gives me non-real values. So I already know there are going to be zero roots from this equation, right? So let's not do anything about that. What about this one? The other quadratic suggests that if I use 1, 1 and minus 2 are my okay, wait, this is wait what? Okay, so funny thing has happened here. A very funny thing has happened. Both of them, oh no, I've written it wrong, my bad. I was like, what? It is not possible that एक भी equation ना एक roots ना दे, ऐसा होता नहीं है usually. Okay, so this gives you two values, x equals to 1 and x equals to uh minus 2 minus 2 minus 2. So this gives us two roots. So 0 roots plus 2 roots, we suggest that there are two roots. Why? Because when p of x is equal to 0, now this can be simplified into this, right? And I can simply say this is these two equal to 0. Why? Because these two would simplify to your polynomial. So this can be written as that. Now if I equate each bracket to 0, because these are two factors of the polynomial, right? And like in quadratic, if you remember, x, actually wait, x minus 3 and x plus 2 you could equate to 0. Each bracket can be equated to 0. Just like that, when there's a power of 4 and you get two brackets like that are multiplying, these are two factors. These can be simplified, these can both be equated to 0, because you've already been said that p of x is equal to 0. So equating both these brackets to 0, one of them gives us non-real values and the other gives us the answers, the roots. So we already know that if there are only two roots, that means if only one of the equation is giving us answers that are 2, so we get two roots. That is our answer. The number of roots are 2. It doesn't matter what the answers are, it matters how many there are. So two roots. That is done as well. This is the same question, like the same logics are used there, so I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to do this one. Let's just look at this one as well. What polynomial? They've given us the data and they tell us to find the quadratic factor. I mean, come on, you can already do this on your own. I'm gonna make a mind map. Okay, so if x equals to what? Plus half, the remainder is 0. The other is x equals to 2, the remainder is 12. Substitute those, get your answers of a and b, right? When you have a and b, for those values, simply just what? This is a cubic polynomial. So just what? Use the again comparison method that we did above and find the quadratic factor. That's it. By the way, the quadratic factor, that means, have I done it here? Have I done it here? I did. There we go. So that is our quadratic factor. This right here. This right here is your quadratic factor. So that is what you would need to find there, right? So just occupy the same method and get that over with. Here we go. Now this is a good question. This is the same question again. Is it? It's the same thing, but I'm going to do it because this has a little different part to it, I guess. So the polynomial, this is where the a and b are constants denoted by p of x. Okay. It is given that p of x is divisible by this. Find the values of a and b. ठीक है. तो जाहिर बात है इसके नॉन रियल आंसर आने, तो मैं करने की सहमत नहीं करने वाला क्योंकि एग्जामिनर इज अ डैश. Anyways, okay, so let's just do comparing coefficients as well. Long division is not suggested here. Why? Because if you do long division, see, and you're gonna what x squared minus x plus 2. If you do that, this a is gonna cause a lot of problems, and we're gonna have one heck of a large equation to solve, right? And we know the remainder is gonna be 0, then we're gonna equate it to 0, and it's just gonna be a big hassle. So let's not do that. Instead, we're just gonna occupy comparing coefficients. So how do we do that? The simplest way I know of is 4x to the power 4 plus ax squared plus 11x plus b. Simply ask yourself one question: what two things would multiply to form a power of 4 equation? That would be two quadratic equations. So two quadratic equations minus x plus 2. One of them has been handed to us. The other will be a and b have been used. So just use a different variable, dx squared plus ex plus q. Okay, so if these two quadratics multiply, we get this a polynomial. Now, if we simplify, let's simplify dx to the power 4 plus ex cubed plus qx squared minus dx cubed minus ex squared minus qx. Then we have plus 2dx squared. Oh, actually, wait. I do want to write it here. Plus 2dx squared. Why? Because I want the x squared coefficient in one line. That's why I've been doing this staircase kind of arrangement. So plus 2ex plus 2q. Is that correct? I sure hope so. I did that a little fast. Anyways, so we need to find a and b. So let's start comparing the coefficients. B is a constant. The constant term is 2q. 2q equals to b. Any other term which has no variable next to it, there is not. So this is the constant term. 2q equals to b. Or what else? We have the coefficient of 4. Okay, so what are the values that have the coefficient, that have the variable power 4? So here is the only one, d to d. So d equals to 4. Directly get that answer. What else? So let's compare the coefficients of x square. So okay, x square, the coefficient of x square is a. So a must be equal to the coefficient of x square in our variable form. So q. These are all the coefficients. Q minus e plus 2d. Q minus e plus 2d. These three values must have added up or subtracted to a, right? So that is another thing to keep in mind. What else can we do? We have, okay, we do have minus q plus 2e as the coefficient of x, and that must add up to 11. So q, okay, shut up. 2e minus q equals to 11. Why? Because the quotient of x is 11 in our actual term, and in our what do we call this? In our comparing method, in our assumed quadratics, if we simplify those values are q, e, and d. These must add up or subtract to 11, right? So 2e minus q, there we go. Now let's just substitute some values. D is 4, so a equals to q minus e plus 2 4 is 8. Do I have anything else? 2e minus q. I do have d. Okay, okay, so we'll have to work a little harder. How can we do that? Let's look at one more here. If there was a 0x cube, because there is no value with the power cube, that means that had a coefficient of 0. So I can say that these are the coefficient in my variable forms. In my assumed polynomial, the coefficients of the x cube variables are e minus d. So e minus d must be equal to 0 because it doesn't exist, right? So d is 4, so e minus 4 is 0, e equals to positive 4. That is that. A equals to q minus 4 plus 8. 8 minus 4 is 4, so a equals to q plus 4. Where else? 2 into 4 minus q equals to 11. 2 4 is 8. 8 minus 11 equals to q. Q equals to what? 3. 3. We have q, ladies and gentlemen. So 2 3s are b. 2, that is what? 2 3s are 6. And 6 equals to b. So you have b, and we need to find a equals to q 3 plus 4. q plus 4, q is 3, 3 plus 4, a equals to 7. There we go. That's everything, right? So we have found a and b. A and b are 7 and 6. Highlight that a little differently. What the flip? Select ho jao bhai. Here. Here is that, and here is your answer. Okay, so moving on. That's part 1. Part 2 is what? With these values, find the real roots of the equation p of x equal to 0. Okay? So part 2 states the same thing. That for these values of a and b, first write down your equation 4x to the power 4 plus 7x squared plus 11x, I'm tired, plus b, that is 6. Equate that to 0. Now we know that this polynomial can also be written as what? As two quadratic equations. Those two quadratic equations are what? X squared minus x plus 2. The other one is dx squared plus ex plus q. D is what? D is 4. So 4x squared. E is what? 4. So plus 4x. And q is what? Q is 3. So plus 3. These two quadratic equations, right? What did we need? We need the real roots. Okay. So for real roots, it means we need to give the values of x. So simply just simplify both these brackets because equals to 0, right? P of x is equal to 0. So equate both these to 0 separately. And then you can find your answers by either using middle term breaking or the quadratic formula. Show your working, people. I'm not going to because I'm lazy like that. Okay, so the first bracket gives us non-real values, and the second bracket gives us 4, 4 and 3. Oh, flip sakes, what did I do wrong? I did something wrong, definitely, because both those brackets are giving me non-real values, but these people, what the flip? 4x squared. Have I written it right in the calculator? 4 and 3. Okay, both are giving me non-real values. This is weird. This usually doesn't happen. 1 minus 1 and 2. Okay, well, this is a possibility though. I don't know. Did we do something wrong in the first part? Let's look at it. X square, ये बना, ये बना, ये बना, सही है. Minus dx q minus ex square minus qx, ठीक है. 2 dx square 2 ex and 2q. ये तो सही है. Where 2q equals to b, 2e minus q as the quotient of x square. Quotient of x squares are where कहाँ गए? q minus e plus 2d. That gives us a, which is our in the actual equation. Then we compare the quotient of x minus q plus 2e. Minus q plus 2e is in the actual equation. The quotient is 11. So these must simplify to 11. The quotient of x4 is d over here, and that is 4 directly, so d equals 4. Okay, that is where it is. Well, q minus e plus 2 4 2 4 is 8. That's that. I found e minus d equal to 0. Why? Because then there is no value in the x cube variable. That means the quotient of the x cube value was 0. So here we have a form of it is which is e minus d. So e minus d must be equal to 0. E minus 4 is 0 plus 4. Then we put it here minus 4 plus 8. 8 minus 4 is plus 4. Then we have q is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. A equals 7. 2 into 3 is 6. 6. No, that is correct as well. Okay, so क्या गलती कर रहा हूँ मैं? ऐसा हो नहीं सकता. Yeah, I don't think there's a mistake. These are non-real as well. There are 0 roots of it. Find the real roots. There are no real roots. No real roots, people. So no real roots. Right? Did I write this right? D, and we have what? We have E. E is 4 as well. D is 4 as well, and B is and wait. B is 6. Q is 6 as well, right? What's Q? Q is 3. Oh wait, actually, what is Q? Q is 6. No, Q is 3. Okay, no 3. Yes, I. ना नो रियल रूट्स भाई, कोई आंसर ही नहीं है इसके. क्या बात है, 2 मार्क दे रहा है बदतमीज आदमी. लेट मी चेक दिस आउट एक्चुअली. Okay, no, I found a mistake. Q equals to minus 3. 8 minus 11 is minus 3. So minus 3, this is gonna be, that's gonna change everything. So A is now equal to minus 1 and B will be equal to what? Minus 3. So minus 6. B equals to minus 6. See, there's a sign mistake, messed us up big time. Anyways, so A equals to minus 1 and B equals to minus 6. ठीक है. Actually, no, a equals to plus 1. For goodness sakes, how many times am I going to make the same mistake? Anyways, so now let's fix this. So let's use our information there and find the right answers. That would be uh, so p of x equals to 0. P of x can also be written as two quadratic equations, x square minus x plus 2, and the other one is 4x square plus 4x, and q is now equals to minus 3 minus. There we go. Now this gives you non-real values, so just leave it at that, and this one gives you 2, 2, 4 plus 4 and minus 3. So this gives you x equals to half, and the other value is x equals to minus 3 over 2. Okay, there we go. हाँ बट लेकिन यहाँ एक मसला तो नहीं है, एक रिक्वायरमेंट है एग्जामिनर की, वो है कि आप नॉन रियल वैल्यूज को भी शो करो. तो वो आ रहे थे कुछ ऐसे, आ रहे थे 1 minus 1 and 2. That gives you 1 plus minus under root 7 iota divided by 2. So this is just for the examiner's requirement. We're going to show, even though they are non-real values, but since they've asked for the real roots, we're still gonna mention it as an answer. Right, so let's move on. By the way, ये मिट क्यों गया? क्या था ये? E minus D equals to 0, right? And E equals to 4. Okay. So now, did I have this noted down? We have this question now. Okay. So simple question है भाई, polynomial ये constant p of x, we're calling it p of x. It is given that this is a factor. So if I divide this by this, if I divide this polynomial by this equation, I'm going to get a remainder of 0. Find the value of a and the other quadratic factor, please. But since we made a mistake before, let's be more mindful about this one. So x to the power 4 plus 3x squared plus a is our polynomial. This polynomial is a multiplication of two quadratic equations, one of which I already have. The other I do not, so I'm going to denote it as a general form. Dx squared plus ex plus q is what I'm stating it as. Now these two will multiply to form this polynomial exactly. So let's do some multiplication. So that's going to be what? Dx to the power 4 dx to the power 4 plus ex cube plus qx squared. Then multiply the x powers, dx cube plus ex squared plus qx. Then multiply 2, so that's going to be what? 2 dx squared plus 2ex plus 2q. Right? Now we have simplified this. Now all of these values must, the power 4 coefficients, the cubic coefficients must simplify to do this equation exactly. So let's talk about the power of 4. Power of 4 coefficient in our general form is d, and in our actual form is 1. So d equals to 1. There we go. Because we need to find the quadratic factor as well, right? That is why I'm doing this. Now a is a constant term in the actual polynomial. In our general polynomial, it is equal to 2q. So a equals to 2q. Let's note that down as well. Moving on, what else? Let's compare the quotient of x squared in the actual polynomial is 3. In our general form of the polynomial is add up all the coefficients of x squared in the general form. So we have q, e and 2d. So q plus e plus 2d must be equal to 3. What else do we have? Okay, now there is no value of x cube in our actual polynomial. That means it existed with the coefficient of 0. That is why it doesn't exist. It is not written in your polynomial. Why? Because it had the coefficient 0. It doesn't exist. But I can use that information to make another equation where e plus d, the coefficient of x cube in our general form, must be equal to 0 because it doesn't exist, right? Now we will use 4 equations, do some substitution and get our answers. So e plus 1 equals to 0, d is 1, e equals to minus 1, 3 equals to q plus 1 plus 2, 3 equals to q plus 3, q equals to 0. Wait, what? That shouldn't happen. Really? Well, it is a possibility, it can happen. Are you sure? Okay, see. I need to stop. I said, okay, we're gonna be more mindful, I said, and I literally did the exact opposite of that. So q minus 1. Why? Because e is minus 1, for goodness sakes. So q plus minus 1 plus 2. That gives us what? That gives us 3q plus 1, 2. Q equals to 2. There you go. That's q, and now a must be equals to 2 times 2, and that is a equals to 4. So we have a, and we need to state the quadratic factor. So the quadratic factor is, my people, is the dx square plus ex plus q, and that is d is 1, so x square, e is minus 1, so minus x, and q is 2, so plus 2. This is our quadratic factor, and this is the value of a. I hope those are correct. Now, how we're going to be mindful about it here is how e plus d equals to 0, d is 1, so minus 1. Did I substitute minus 1? Yes, I did. My 2 minus 1 is 1. Take 1 there, 3 minus 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. Q is put here. 2 times 2 is 4. A equals to 4. 4 is correct. Now, I just simplified that. I have all my variables of the quadratic factor. D equals to 1, E equals to minus 1, so x square minus x plus, and Q is 2, so 2. So that is the other quadratic factor, right? This is the other quadratic factor as well. So please be mindful of that. Do not waste your time or make the mistake we made in this question. अच्छा भाई, ये सवाल बहुत बेसिक है, इसे माइंड मैप बना लेते हैं साथ में, सही है? कैसे होगा देखो, ये आ गया पॉलिनोमियल, ए एंड बी कांस्टेंट्स हैं, डिनोटेड बाय पी ऑफ एक्स, ठीक है, इसको पी ऑफ एक्स बोल रहे हैं फिलहाल। गिवन दैट इज अ फैक्टर, तो एक आ गया आर इक्वल्स टू माइनस हाफ इक्वल्स टू रिमाइंडर जीरो आएगा, सॉरी एक्स इक्वल्स टू माइनस हाफ, तो रिमाइंडर जीरो आएगा। इसको पुट करके इक्वेशन बना ली, फिर क्या बोलते हैं, डिवाइड बाय 2x माइनस 1, तो 1 आना चाहिए, तो x इक्वल्स टू पॉजिटिव हाफ, तो रिमाइंडर आएगा 1। ये दो पुट करो, इक्वल टू 0 करना, इक्वल टू 1 करना, हो गया। ए और बी की वैल्यूज आ जाएंगी बाय साइमल्टेनियस इक्वेशंस, ठीक है। फिर ये वैल्यूज के लिए फाइंड द रिमाइंडर व्हेन p ऑफ x इज डिवाइड बाय 2x स्क्वायर माइनस 1। अब ये डिवीजन हम कैसे करेंगे? लॉन्ग डिवीजन के थ्रू, ठीक है, तो लॉन्ग डिवीजन कर लो। नहीं, लॉन्ग डिवीजन के थ्रू ही होगा, सही है, लॉन्ग डिवीजन के थ्रू कर लेंगे ये। अब लॉन्ग डिवीजन का तरीका हम वापस यहाँ रिवाइज कर लेते हैं, बिकॉज और कोई सवाल कराना है मुझे, ऐसा अच्छे सवाल निकाले मैंने, ये वाले दो है। चलो यहाँ लॉन्ग डिवीजन की प्रैक्टिस कर लेते हैं, और x प्लस टू एक्स स्क्वायर को डिवाइड करें, दैट इज योर डिविडेंड, राइट, 2x स्क्वायर, एंड दिस इज योर डिवाइजर, ठीक है। तो इसे हम बोलेंगे, यहाँ रखेंगे x प्लस 2, ठीक है। नाउ व्हाट इज द रूल, कि हम इसको किस चीज से मल्टीप्लाई करूँ x प्लस 2 को, कि 2x स्क्वायर बन जाए, सही है। तो क्या करते हैं, अगर मैं 2x से मल्टीप्लाई कर दूँ, 2x स्क्वायर बन जाएगा भाई, 2x स्क्वायर बनेगा, लेकिन एक और टर्म बनेगी साथ में, वो बनेगी 4x, तो प्लस 4x बन गई साथ में, ठीक है। फिर इसको पूरी चीज़ को मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे माइनस से, बिकॉज दैट्स आवर डिवीजन, हम सब्ट्रैक्ट करते हैं, तो इसका साइन नेगेटिव हो जाएगा, इसका साइन भी नेगेटिव हो जाएगा, ठीक है। फिर आप करते हैं सब्ट्रैक्शन, कैंसल्स आउट, एंड रिमेन्स हियर इज माइनस 4x रह गया, ठीक हो गया ना। हाँ, कैन आई मेक दिस टर्म, बाय द वे, अच्छा अब देखो पावर सेम है अभी, सी मैंने कहा था जब डिग्री ऑफ पावर रिमाइंडर की आपके डिवाइजर से कम हो जाए, देन यू स्टॉप, राइट, but still the remainder's power is 1 and your divisor's power is 1, they're equal, so you do not stop now, you keep going, okay. So now our question is, how do we find minus 4x? So to form minus 4x, I need to multiply this divisor by what? By minus 4. Yeah, minus 4, because minus 4 times x is minus 4x, and the other is minus 4 into 2 is minus 8, and now this whole thing will be subtracted from this value, right? So here we go. So subtract that, and this will turn into plus, this will also turn into plus, and our answer, this will get cancelled out, and the remaining will be plus 8. Okay, so here we go, plus 8 remains. Now x to the power 0, so the degree of your variable is now 0, and the degree of your divisor is 1. But now the remainder has become less than 0, sorry, less than the divisor, the degree of the remainder has become less than the divisor, hence your remainder is 8. 8 equals to remainder, right, and your quotient is quotient q से represent कर लेते हैं, q of x से करते हैं usually, q of x is equals to 2x minus, ठीक है। तो this is your answer, क्वेश्चन भी चाहिए था, रिमाइंडर भी चाहिए था, दोनों बता दें, ठीक है। तो ये आपका लॉन्ग डिवीजन का ज़्यादा बेहतर एक्सप्लेन कर दिया वहाँ ऊपर थोड़ी एक्सप्लेनेशन में थोड़ी सी वो थी डिस्क्रिपेंसीज जो बोलते हैं, एनीवेज, व्हाट एल्स वी हैव, here is another question. Okay, so polynomial this 4x cube minus 4x square plus 3x plus a, part 1 is to find this value, ठीक है। So constant p of x is given divisible by this. Now we already know this is going to be non-real, so we cannot factorize that. So we will use comparison. This cubic polynomial is formed. Cubic polynomials is a combination of what? A linear factor, which is not given here. So let's just call that ax. Actually, not ax. Let's call that bx plus c, right? And a quadratic equation. The quadratic equation यहाँ में दी हुई है. So 2x square minus 3x plus 3. There you go. So now we can do the comparison. Here we go. First, let me just expand this one. So expand कर लेते हैं थोड़ा सा. By the way, expand करने की जरूरत नहीं है. पता क्यों? एक देखो थोड़ा सोचो. This is a constant term. Right now, expansion will just give me a general form of all of these terms. Cube का एक general form आ जाएगा bx cube plus cx cube plus ex cube minus 4x square का एक और आ जाएगा 3 का एक और आ जाएगा a का एक और आ जाएगा ऐसे ही होगा 3x I guess sorry 3x right. But this is a constant term. तो कांस्टेंट टर्म कौन से दो को मल्टीप्लाई करके बनेगी? इनको मैं मल्टीप्लाई करूं bx को मैं 2x स्क्वायर से करूं 3x से करूं कांस्टेंट नहीं बनने वाला. लेकिन मैं c को इससे करूं कांस्टेंट नहीं बनेगा, वेरिएबल है. इसको इससे करूं वेरिएबल वेरिएबल फिर भी आएगा, राइट? बिकॉज इट्स गोना टर्न इनटू -3cx एंड वी नीड अ कांस्टेंट टर्म with no variable. But if I multiply with this c by 3, so that will give me the constant term, right? So dot 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 3c is my constant term, and that is exactly equal to a. So I can just write 3c equals to a, right? अब डायरेक्ट तो नहीं आने वाला, ये c भी निकालना पड़ेगा. चलो फिर लंबी करनी पड़ेगी. चलो. Okay, so we're gonna have to take the longer route. So let's take the longer route anyway. I do have a smaller solution for it, but let's just do the lengthy way. That's a safer way out. Anyways, here we go. So this is gonna turn into 2bx cube minus 3bx square. What was this? Plus 3 plus. So 3bx plus 3bx. Then we have plus 2cx square minus 3cx plus 3c. So we already know 3c equals to a. The next thing we know is this cubic, what do we call it? Coefficient. There we go. Cubic coefficient is equals to 4 because in the actual form it is 4 and in the general form it is 2b. So 4 equals to 2b, right? And then b equals to 2. Yeah, I got answer. Acha, how else? Okay, let's compare the coefficient of x square. So x square is minus 3b plus 2c. So minus 3b plus 2c. In our general form, the coefficient of x square is minus 3b plus 2c. In the actual form, it is minus 4. So equals to minus 4. Okay, so do I know b? I do know b. That is going to turn to minus 6 plus 2c equals to minus 4. Minus 6, that's going to turn to plus 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. 2c, c equals to 1. So 3 equals to a. Because c की जगह 1 आ गया, so 3 ones are 3. So e equals to 3. First part done. Now again we have a cubic inequality part 2. For this value of a, solve the inequality that p of x is less than 0, justifying your answer. Okay. Okay. So now instead of copying down the exact inequality, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it in the factorized form, as in with the linear factor and the quadratic factor. So bx plus c is 2x plus 1. So 2x plus 1, b was 2, 2x plus 1. And the quadratic factor is 2x square minus 3x plus 3. There you go. Okay. So this is all greater than less than 0. Less than 0 से equate करना था, कर दिया. Now, to solve a cubic polynomial, all you need to understand is how the curve will be drawn. So since the coefficient of x cubed, the maximum power coefficient is 4, it's positive. So I'll say a is a positive term. Hence, the cubic curve will be something along the lines of this. Right, something along the lines of that. Now let's figure out how many answers do we have. First, equate this to 0, equate that to 0. We get x equals to minus half, x equals to x equals to. Let's check out that quadratic. By the way, I'm pretty sure it's going to be non-real, or maybe it isn't. It is non-real. So there is only one real root. What does that mean? That means it only intersects the curve once. So let's just call it here. Let's just call it here, right? Why not? Minus half right here. This is minus half. Now, if I talk about this region of this expansion over here, this is the negative region. If I move to the greater side, this is the positive region, because for all values of x, for example, all values of x, as in because x की lines कैसे बनती हैं? Parallel to the y-axis. So for all values of x, the region will be positive. the values of y will be positive, right? So what do we need? We need the region which is less than 0. We need the values of y to be negative. So we will move to the left side. Why? Because if you move to the left side, this curve is going to keep on going, expanding, and for all values of x, the intersection is going to give you negative values of y, right? So our final answer is going to be x is less than minus half. Got it? And that is our answer. Moving on. And by the way, this gives you non-real values. So nothing to worry about that. This you just write an x. This diagram is your justification for your answer. X is less than half. X is less than minus half. Right? Moving on. Is that everything? Okay. Last two questions I'm gonna do. Here we go. The polynomial f of x. This is the polynomial. A constant है. Given that. अब ये तो बहुत आसान है. X plus 2 is a factor of f of x. Find the value of a. क्या करें भाई? Equal to 0 करो. X equals to minus 2. Should give you the remainder 0. इसमें जरा डाल के देखते हैं minus 2. Minus 2 minus 8 plus 4a plus 2ax. Oh, by the way, x square यहाँ है. ना x की जगह तो डाल रहा हूँ मैं. क्या हो गया मुझे? थोड़ा फ्रेश होके आया हूँ तो थोड़ी एनर्जी आ गई है, लेकिन गलतियाँ यहाँ भी हो रही हैं. एनीवेज कोई नहीं, इंसान है. Minus 8 plus 4a हो गया because 2 square is 4a, and then this is going to be minus, so that's going to be plus 2a, and this is going to be plus 40, and this will give you the answer 0. So this is going to turn into 6a, this is going to turn into minus plus 6 equals to 0. Okay, so a is just going to be 1. Here we go. Minus 6, okay, minus 1, sorry, minus 1. A equals to minus 1, there we go. Now show that when a has this value, a has the value of minus 1. The equation f of x has only one real root. सिंपल है. जैसे हमने फैक्टराइजेशन ऊपर की थी वैसे यहाँ भी करेंगे. एक लीनियर फैक्टर बनाएंगे, क्वाड्रेटिक फैक्टर बनाएंगे. The linear factor is going to give us the answer, and the quadratic factor is going to be non-real. Or it could also be a possibility that the quadratic factor gives us one root only, because it could be a tangent, right? That gives us one root, and the linear factor would not. Okay, no, the linear factor has to give us the answer. So the quadratic factor is not going to be, is going to be non-real definitely. So let's just prove that theory and prove that in writing. How do we do it? That f of x is equal to 0. So x cube plus, no, not plus, minus here. तो ये हो गया माइनस ए की माइनस 1 हो गया तो माइनस एक्स स्क्वायर, माइनस माइनस प्लस हो गया तो ये हो गया x plus 40 equals to 0. ठीक है, now we already know that this whole thing can be taken into two ways, a linear factor and a quadratic factor, right? So the linear factor कैसे ढूंढते हैं? अच्छा, पहले दिया हुआ है, चलो पहले फैक्टर दिया हुआ है, तो x plus 2, and this is going to multiply with the quadratic factor, so call that bx square plus cx plus b, right? That's a general equation for a quadratic equation. Anyway, is equal that to 0. Now how do we do the comparison? Well, you could expand that and compare coefficients, or you could think a little differently. For example, in questions like this, let's think how the constant will be formed, right? Ambulance आ रही है, चलो दुआएं करें भाई सब ambulance के लिए. Anyways, 2d. Now see, if this constant term multiplies with d, we're going to get a constant, and the constant is going to be 14. So I already know 2d equals to 14, and I can get d directly, right? Now if I talk about this cubic term, for example, where it has the coefficient 1, so what are the things that will multiply to give us a cubic equation? So it's going to be this x with this bx square, right? With anything else, it does not give us a cubic value. But if I multiply it with bx square, that gives us bx cube, right? And that's our cubic value. So that's 1x cube. So 1x cube, x cube, x cube cancel out, b equals to 1. So I already know x square. I do not know cx, but I do not know the value of c yet, but I know what d is. D is plus 7. Now talking about cx. Okay, so what would I multiply together to give me the quotient of x, the x square term, right? So let's question that. If I multiply 2 by bx square, that's going to give me what? That's going to give me 2bx squared. With anything else, it will not give me anything. Another way is multiplying x with cx, and that gives you plus cx squared, right? Anything else that will give you a coefficient of x squared? It would not. So that is directly equal to the coefficient in your actual equation, which is minus 1x squared. So cancel those out. B is 1, we already figured that out. So 2 plus c equals to minus 1. Put that there, c equals to minus 3. There we go. See, so this is just another way to go about comparing coefficients. This is what I was talking about before as well. But in questions where did we do that? Here. In questions like these, you're better off expanding the whole thing, right? And then comparing coefficients. But when the situation is something along the lines of this, when you are equating to zero and then factorizing a whole cubic equation, you can just think about it this way. I hope it made sense to you anyways. So these are our two factors. Now, क्या करना था? Okay, so we need to prove that there is only one real root. Now this is going to be equate that to 0, you get x equals to minus 2. That is our one root. Now to prove that this gives us no answers, you have to do middle term breaking. Actually, no, I do have a better way to do this. Do I do? Do I though? Actually, maybe yes, I do. We could take this into our क्या बोलते हैं स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्म में ले जा सकते हैं सर यार अब मैं बता रहा हूँ देखो मैं बता देता हूँ कैसे करना है मेरे दिमाग में बहुत सारे तरीके आ रहे हैं. Anyways, just put this into the quadratic formula. You put that in the minus 3 and plus 7. You get iota in your answer, so that means it's a non-real value. Either you just show this that x equals to 3 plus minus under root 19 iota bahar aa gaya divided by 2. Hence non-real. Non-real. Right? And doesn't exist, blah blah. So only one real root. Only one real root. ठीक है तो ये बात जस्टिफाई हो गई यहाँ. मेरे जहन में एक तरीका था ये सिर्फ मेरा थॉट प्रोसेस है राइट टू भाई हम रोबोट्स नहीं हम इंसान है सोच सकते हैं. So what would be another way would be to do just turn this into what standard form. तो क्या होता है x square minus 3x plus 3 over 2. My god इतनी लंबी होती 3 square minus 3 over 2. I should not be saying that काफी slang जा रहा हूँ. Anyways, here it would just take a longer time to do this. This turns into our what standard form minus 3 over 2 whole square, and then minus 9 over 4 plus 7, that turns into what? 4 7s are 28, 28 plus 20 minus 9 is 19, 19 over 4 minus yeah plus 19 plus 19 okay, so plus 19 over 4. ठीक है, equate that to 0, and if we do this 19 over 4 minus 19 over 4 हो जाएगा. ठीक है, and when you take that under root, see it cannot be solved, right? So that's another way to prove it. So that's the two ways to prove that there is only one real root. I'm pretty sure this quadratic formula method would be way justifiable and easier. So just do that. Oh, actually, okay, this is so stupid. They could just use b square minus 4ac. B square, if b square minus 4ac is less than 0, that means no real roots, right? No real roots. So how would we do that? My 9 minus 4 into 1 into 7. 1 ही है सही है. So 9 minus 4 7 to 28. तो क्या आएगा -19. वही आ गया. तो ये डायरेक्टली पता चल गया लेस देन 0 मतलब नो रियल रूट्स. सो वी हैव ओनली वन रियल रूट. थ्री वेज टू गो अबाउट द सेम थिंग. ये दोनों तो सेम है, ये वाला और ये वाला कंप्लीटिंग स्क्वायर मेथड वाला मेथड, दे आर द एग्जैक्टली सेम थिंग. एनीवेज, मूविंग ऑन. बाय द वे मैं करके भी देख लूं एक सेकंड. -3 over 2 whole square plus what 7, that gives us 19. ठीक है. Okay, so these are just the thought processes of how we would go around something like that. Anyways, let's just do this last question. There we go. ये आखिरी सवाल है आज का, and that should cover a lot of the concepts in polynomials for A2 and advanced students. Let's just get this over with. Polynomial is a power 4 polynomial. F of x बोलते हैं इसे. ठीक है, बोल दिया. Divisible by this. That means if I divide this polynomial by this value, the remainder will be 0. So find the value of A. अब ऐसे क्वेश्चन में क्या करना है? Comparison. 2x cube minus 2x square plus A is directly exactly इसका साइन का मतलब होता है exactly equal. So exactly equal to what? The multiplication of two quadratic equations, one of which I already have, the other of which I do not know of, so I'm going to just write it as a general form. So bx square plus cx plus d is my general form. Now let's simplify this general form, and we get what? Bx 4 minus plus cx cube plus dx square. Then we have minus 4 bx cube minus 4 cx square and minus 4 xt. Then we have what? Then we have plus 4. So plus 4 x square bx square. Then we have plus 4cx and we have plus 4d. So that's the general form of this polynomial. So if this all these are added together after the values we put in, this polynomial will be born. So now let's start comparing the coefficients. So we need to find a, right? A is equal to the constant term 4d. 4d. So 4d a equals to 4d. That's one thing. Now x4 in the general form is has the coefficient b, right? And in the actual form it has the coefficient 1. So 1. Now in the general form the coefficient of x cube is c minus 4b. Anything else? Nope. C minus 4b. That is equal, and in the actual form that shall be equal to minus 2. So minus 2. I can solve that. C minus 4 because b is 1. So minus 4 equals to minus 2. Minus 4 plus that's going to be equal to 2. C equals to 2. ठीक हो गया because plus 4 हो जाएगा. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then what else can we do? What else can we do? Okay. Now compare the coefficient of x square. So in the general form, the coefficients of x square are d minus 4c plus 4b. In the actual form, that will be equal to minus 2. माइनस टू ही होंगे पक्का. हाँ माइनस टू. ठीक है. तो d हमें नहीं पता, हमें ढूंढना है. c हमें पता है, that's 2, and b हमें पता है, that's 1, right? Now d minus 8 plus 4 equals to minus 2. So d minus 4 हो जाएगा, ये plus 4 कर देते हैं, 4 minus 2, and d is also equals to 2. So a is equals to 4 2 is 8. A equals to 8. There we go. That's our final answer. Now the next part is better. So here we go. Last part of this topic. When a has this value, so when a equals to 8, let's just substitute that into our equation. X4 minus 2x cubed minus 2x square plus 8. That's our f of x, right? Yep. Okay, so show that f of x is never negative. Okay, so there are many ways to do that. If it is never negative, that means f of x must be greater than 0. Or another way to prove this would be that we find the two quadratic equations that will create this formula, this polynomial, my bad. And I think we already have those, don't we? So let's do it the other way. Let's do it easier. Actually, not the easier way, but it is, I think, the best route. So f of x has to be greater than 0, right? And that can be proven through the root of, for firstly, simplifying this into your quadratic equation. So this simplifies into two quadratic equations, right? X square, क्या था? X square minus 4x plus 4 minus 4x plus 4. एक हो गई. दूसरी वाली क्या है? bx square. b क्या है? 1. So x square. cx. c क्या है? 2. So plus 2x. और d क्या है? plus 2. Plus 2. ये आ गए आपके दोनों quadratic. ठीक है. अब क्या करते हैं? They must be greater than 0, right? So one way to do this is दोनों को स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्म में ले जाओ. सही है. तो स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्म लेके जब जाएंगे ऐसे क्या हो जाएगा? एक्स स्क्वायर माइनस 4x प्लस 2 स्क्वायर माइनस 2 स्क्वायर प्लस 4, and this whole thing is going to turn into x minus 2 whole square, and minus 4 plus 4 is just, it's not going to be anything, so this is just 0. Now convert this also as well, so that's that. Up there we go. Now this x square plus 2x plus 1 square minus 1 square plus 2, right? This whole thing is gonna turn into another factor, so that's gonna be what? X plus 1, but this is completing the square method, by the way, if someone is wondering, right? So now to power minus 1 square plus 2, so that's what? That's plus 1 plus 1 greater than 0. Okay. Now you already, now if you equate both these brackets to greater than 0, x minus 2 whole square is greater than 0. Well, yes, you can just therefore hence for all values of x, the polynomial is positive. Polynomial is positive, yeah, right? और इसके लिए भी कर लेते हैं. X plus 1 whole square plus 1 is also always greater than 0 since it is squared. Hence, actually मैं इसकी statement बेहतर कर सकता है. जो उसकी statement को बेहतर कर देता है. But see, because देखो, for all values, whatever value you put into this, see, if I put minus 1 plus 1 is not going to turn into 0, and 0 plus 1 is 1, so it is above the x-axis. Put 2 यहाँ डालूंगा तो 0 आएगा, यहाँ डालूंगा तो क्या आएगा? 2 plus 1 plus 1, so that is also going to be above the x-axis, right? और 3 डालो, -1 डालो, कुछ भी डालो, it's gonna square and it's gonna turn into a positive value. +1 is gonna be added, and in the other factor, this one, it's gonna be squared and turned into a positive value. So for all values of x, um, all roots are positive. Hence, hence, f of x is never negative. I think that should be a good enough justification. I'll check the marking scheme as well and to see what the examiner would require. Let me do that. Okay, so we good, because the marking scheme says that an attempt seen to show that for all values of x it is positive, and इसकी ये भी दिखाना था, तो इस पे आपको पूरे मार्क्स मिल जाने चाहिए, and I think that is good enough. So I hope all these questions give you a general idea of how the polynomial chapter is going to work for your A2 maths, and that's going to be all.